You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Welcome back, everybody, to RBO. And as always, my name is Jake Ricker. Alongside me, it's Jose Mataro. It's Matt Gannon. Guys, welcome back to the show. And I have a question for you. Is it too early to say hashtag, is it October yet? Because I'm already missing hockey season. I know the playoffs are still going on. You got the Panthers and the Canes playing each other in the Eastern Conference Finals and the Knights and the Stars. But I'm missing Lightning hockey, boys. I miss it. How you guys doing today?
It feels wrong with no lightning in it. I know what you mean, Jake. It just something feels off. Doesn't feel like the playoffs with no lightning.
You know, the boys are getting a rest. I know you're bitter about what's going on in the playoffs here, Jake. But hey, at least we still have things that we can recap from the last season and things to look forward to for next. So we still got our podcast going and still a lot of content that we plan on getting to.
Absolutely. So in today's episode, we are going to be starting our report card series. We'll be going through all the players line by line, basically, and giving them our grades for how they did this season, talking about some of their stats and the roles they played and maybe what they could be doing for next season. That starts today. We'll be starting off with Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, and Steven Stamkos. So if you don't want to miss out on future episodes where we start going over all of the other players, make sure you like and subscribe right here on YouTube or hit that follow button wherever you may be listening so you don't miss out on those episodes. But before we get into the report cards, we have some news to talk about. Of course, as we mentioned in episodes before, Mikey Eyssimont and Nick Perbix have been playing for Team USA in their tournament right now. Team USA is absolutely killing it. They went undefeated in the pool play as they get set to now get ready for the official tournament where elimination games can happen, but Team USA absolutely on fire. Although Eyssimont, he had a little bit of a situation in the last game against Sweden. He was given a 5-minute major in a game for kneeing on one of the, I believe it was one of the Ducks prospects. And if you haven't seen the hit, it's all over Twitter, so you can go out and check it out there. But basically, Eyssimont went to go make a hit. One of the Sweden players went to move out of the way, and there was knee-on-knee contact, and it was not a good hit overall. And Eyssimont was ejected for it. I don't think there was any suspension after that. I haven't heard anything ever since. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this hit and what you think for this, because I think Eyssimont has deserved this role. I think he's playing really well what he's been doing for Team USA. I really like the kid. I think he's got a big role for the Lightning in the future. But I got to be honest, I didn't love this hit from him.
Yeah, just to clarify on the rules for the IIHF World Championship, basically if you get a major for kneeing, it automatically comes with it a 1-game suspension. There was a disciplinary panel that upheld it. And so from that hit, it was really an on-ice decision to give him that game.
It was a dirty play. I think 5 minutes is probably enough, get him out for the rest of the game. But I don't know if I agree with, a whole extra game to go along with it. But I do think it was avoidable and unnecessary. So
that's actually a good way of putting it. It was avoidable. It didn't look to me like Eyssimont was targeting going for a knee, especially when I've watched this replay so many times trying to, pick it apart and say, look, he's targeting this knee, trying to play devil's advocate. But Sandin's really trying to avoid the hit, and he avoids the hit with the majority of his body, but can't move his left leg out of the way. And in the process, as Eyssimont going, for the middle of the body, he starts leaning in. And when you lean in, you can go knee forward, anticipating pushing into it. It doesn't look good, but I mean, that's not the same play that you see other guys where they're sticking out a leg and trying to literally take out somebody at the knee. So while it's not, the best of looks, I don't think it's time to start labeling Isamon as a malicious player just yet.
No.
Yeah, no, I think like you said, there's plays where the guys will stick their leg out. I think this was more of he could have brought his in to avoid it. So it wasn't, predatory. It wasn't hunting for that knee-on-knee hit, but he could have.
I don't think he could have brought it in. I think that he maybe could have, not led with it as heavily, but it happened so fast. For him to bring it in as he's coming up to the boards actually could be pretty dangerous and sacrificing himself. And that's something you have to consider when you're on the boards in general. If you're about to get hit, there's things that you can do to minimize the impact. One of them is a quick change of direction, which, that's kind of what happened here. Another thing is you put yourself into the boards so that the boards absorb, or the glass really absorbs the majority of the impact. And in this case is, you got to protect yourself as you're going in for the hit too. If you all of a sudden decide to try diving out of the way, you can really hurt yourself. I mean, this past week there's been a few interesting plays with other people that were quite a bit dirtier. One in particular I'd like to bring up was what was the score? I think it was 1-0 in the Dallas game. And Ben proving that he's less than a clean player. What'd you guys think of that one?
Oh, that was dirty as dirty can be. I mean, he goes down and then just kind of looks at him almost and then goes, "Yep, I'm going to do this," and cross-checks him right in the face. I mean, I don't know what made him think that was a good idea, but my favorite part about that hit was the players that were trying to defend him. Like, how can you defend a hit like that? I mean, it was clearly dirty, and rightfully he was ejected.
And
the quote was the best. Yeah, and they've been targeting Stone, not just the Stars, but every team that has played the Golden Knights. They've been targeting Stone. Like, they know he's had injury problems throughout the last 5 years, it seems, pretty much his whole career, it seems, but especially these playoffs, they've been targeting him, and I think. Ben's quote about it was the best. It was the laugh, the most laughable part of it. It's unfortunate that I fell and my stick fell on his face alongside of it, something like that. I mean, denial.
What was the other one in the World Championship?
Oh, the Joe Valeno stomp, or
yeah. That was a nice target. Nothing like you using a skate blade as a weapon.
What goes through your head to make that decision that I'm going to use a skeet blade of all things to attack a guy? Like, I mean, come on.
Do you guys remember a couple of years ago, it was a game, it was against Edmonton, not sure if it was home or away, but it was Eric Chernak and Zach Kassian. Eric Chernak knocks him down to the ice, play still going on. Chernak's kind of, on top of him, not letting him get up, a little bit of a, smothering him. So Kassian, of course, he's a big fella, he's getting upset, but Chernak's getting up and he uses his skate blade and kicks towards him. Didn't make contact or anything, but Zach Kassian kicked towards Eric Chernak with the skate first, the blade first. He ended up getting 6 games for that. It was I'm
pulling it up right now. Actually, it was pretty quick to pull up, and as soon as this YouTube preview goes away, it was 2019. It was 3 years. Yeah, 3 years ago. They're wrestling on the ice and. He kicks him square in the chest. He makes contact.
Make contact.
Yeah,
Okay.
he donkey kicks him right into the middle of his chest.
That's impressive that you remember that from.
Ago. It's like one of those things if you're wrestling with your brother when you're younger and you kick him to get him off you. But oh my god, yeah, that's ugly. This is we were joking pre-show. This is all stuff that Matt Cook would be very proud of.
It's I don't get it. I wish you didn't see it as often because it's the one part of hockey that nobody likes to see at all. But to bring it back to Isamon, I don't think it's nearly as bad as those 2 hits we just talked about that were more recent. Clearly, I think he was going in for a hit, and then Sandin obviously saw what it was coming, and he tried to get out of the way, which then made it 10 times worse because then it was dead knee-on-knee contact. I think if Sandin doesn't move, it's probably, I think he still kind of hits him in the knee a little bit, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as it would have been if Sandin didn't move. But, of course, he's going to move out of the way. He doesn't want to get hit. So, unfortunate play. He did deserve a game a game misconduct. I absolutely agree with that. I don't know about the 1 game suspension, but I totally get it. Totally understandable. Hopefully, EC Mont comes back with a vengeance and will be scoring lots of points for Team USA as they continue their way down the tournament. So let's start getting into our report cards, boys. Looking at what we got here, we're going to start off with Nikita Kucherov. And of course, he's always at the top of the list for the Tampa Bay Lightning. This guy is a menace out on the ice. 82 games played this year, full season, 30 goals, 83 assists, and 113 points. He was absolutely fantastic. And you look at his stats from last year when he was hurt for majority of the year. He played in 47 games played, had 69 total points last year. So you could almost argue that this year wasn't even as good as he was doing last year had he played a full season. But still, nonetheless, Nikita Kucherov, the magician, and what he's able to do with the puck and setting up all the other players for goals. Just a fantastic season for Kucherov overall, especially in the regular season.
Yeah, I'd say that he was playing outstanding when it came to his offensive prowess. I mean, some of the plays that you saw him do this season that we haven't seen in seasons past. I mean, how much did we hammer on that fake one-timer that he's gotten, or fake slap shot that he'll put into the bumper position for usually on the power play. That's something that we've seen him do a little bit, but he's almost perfected it at this point. And he's somebody that keeps adding offensive tools to his arsenal. And I mean, like you said, was 113 points. Then the only other person that had more was McDavid, correct?
Draisaitl had more than him.
Draisaitl did as
so
well.
he was
Okay.
third, I want to say.
Yeah, all right, that makes sense. I guess he was second in assists, if I remember. I don't have the
that
overall
sounds right.
stats. Yeah, I mean that's something that I mean Draisaitl and McDavid. I mean that combination right there. It's impressive to even consider that. Talking about in the same breath. But I mean he's he's still producing. It makes you hopeful as well for the next seasons that he just keeps working on these tools.
Yeah, I mean, he's as consistent as it gets. It's such an overused word, but dynamic is the perfect way to put him. He can hurt you in many different ways. I don't want to say other, superstars, other 100-point players are one-dimensional. They certainly aren't, but, Kucherov is a very creative player. He makes a lot of plays and a lot of moves that you just wouldn't expect, other NHL superstars to make. Like, I look back to some of his more creative passes. Like, he's probably the touch pass king. I still do believe that he's the best passer in the league, but just some of the micro plays that he makes. We all know he's got a great wrist shot, a great one-timer, but everybody should know that his passes are just the best part of his game. But the micro passes, the little one-touch passes that all he does is change up the speed by 0.1 mile an hour or something to make sure it gets directly onto Braden Point's skate blade. It's just high IQ plays that he just consistently does, that gets so underlooked, unnoticed. Like, he had 113 points this year and nobody's talking about it. Like, he is just such a low-key superstar, as I always say, but it's because he has just such a profound hockey IQ that it's pretty easy to overlook some of those micro plays that may not look like a lot but are superstar plays.
And to add to that, I'm using right now, I mean, there's a variety of stat pages that you can pull up, and I have Money Puck open, and one of the columns that they have is high danger goals, medium danger goals, and low danger goals. And a high danger goal, that's going to be someone that's, standing back door, gets the puck right on their tape, puts it in. I mean, that's going to go in 9 out of 10 times. Low danger goals, something that the goalie should be saving from an area that is visible to him. He was leading the team in that stat, and I'm not going to go into explaining it, but he had a rating of 9, where Stamkos was a 7 and Point was a 5, and those are in the low danger areas. So he's the sort of guy that also sees the ice a little bit differently. And even though he's not in what they'd call a high danger spot, he still has the ability to just fake out the goalie, whip the puck on net, and put it in.
He's got, he doesn't have the best wrist shot in the league, but it's definitely up there. But he definitely has a very
One of the most
unique.
deceptive.
That's what I was going with. It's a very unique style where it's like it still seems like he gets the shot off so quick. It seems like he's still almost trying to curl it into the blade a little bit, but somehow it's already off of his stick by the time that move should be finished up. Curling that stick to get that perfect wrist shot, it's already off his blade. It's a very, very quick wrist shot. So
yeah, he's really good at hiding it behind his leg before he pulls it to release. He's worked on that a lot.
Mm-hmm. And Brian Engblom will be the first person to tell you about how deceptive his shot is every time. But, it still manages to trick the goalie every time.
Now, I think this is something interesting about Nikita Kucherov. We talked about all his points, all the fantastic offense he's able to produce. Now, I know plus minus is not everybody's favorite stat, but I think it's interesting that he has 113 points. 50 of them did come on the power play, but he was a -2 overall on the regular season. It's pretty crazy to me that you can have 113 points, even if you take away the 50 points on the power play, because the plus minus don't count when it comes to the man advantage. Being a -2, is that a red flag for you guys when it comes to Nikita Kucherov's defense, or is that just an overall line offense thing?
No, you know what you're getting with Nikita Kucherov, and it's not at all a sturdy back check from him. That's not what you're expecting. And again, it is a little bit of a fool's errand to put that much stock into plus minus. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, they were lighting up the playoffs before they got eliminated. Both of those guys ended up as minuses, I think -1 or 2 or something. So, and if you are that close to 0, I really don't mind. If you are tipping the scale in one way or another, positive or negative, that's when, you really start to raise your eyebrows. Like if you're a -60 something, there's
like an OV season.
Yeah, there's something there. Like Erik Karlsson, he broke the 100-point mark this year, and I think he was still like a -25 or -26. So, but they do play different roles. He's a defenseman. He might play penalty kill. I'm not sure, but I don't put a whole lot of stock in a plus minus. We always know what we're going to get with Kucherov, and it's all-time offense, and sometimes defense, sometimes back check. Even though I do think he improved his defensive game a lot this year.
He definitely improved it once he got benched. That's when you saw him work quite a bit harder. I mean, it lit a fire. It really did, at least for quite a few of those games. He's definitely a player that saves his energy a little bit for getting into the offensive zone rather than trying to back check as hard as he can. And like you said, he understands his role, and his job isn't always to be the guy that's deep in our own defensive zone and trying to create turnovers that way. You want him to use his magic, slightly differently. And, he is getting matched up against some of the tougher lines out there too. It's not, I wouldn't say a -2 is extremely worrisome. It's just, it shows to me the casual play that they seem to have exhibited this season. And, there's a few people that kind of had some casual play, knowing that the playoffs were pretty much locked. And that happened, I'd say, around December, right? Around Christmas break. It wasn't like they were having to work extremely hard to get that playoff spot, and they could still do their magic. And if they got scored on, they'd, how long did it take for Vasi to get his first shutout?
A while. Well,
and to illustrate, that was all that lazy play late in games where, maybe your plus minus doesn't matter at that point, right?
So I was in the background while you guys were talking, looking at some stats here because I had a fun trivia question for you. And honestly, this ended up shocking me because I didn't think it was this crazy. Do you know the last player to hit 113 points not named Nikita Kucherov?
On the Lightning?
On the Lightning, correct.
Nikita Kucherov. Oh, I guess not named.
Not
okay.
named.
You have to be Marty.
I'm going Vinny.
It has never happened before.
What?
Okay.
I
Vinny
went through every single. Vinny got up to the highest I saw for him was 108 points, but he did not ever surpass Kucherov at 113 points. Kucherov had obviously 128 in the 2018 to 2019 season, which is the record for the Lightning, but nobody has surpassed him at 113 points either. So Kucherov, again, putting up an astounding number of points compared to every single Lightning player in franchise history.
102 for the max on St. Louis.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
Even Marty wasn't ever up there. Even he broke 100 once or twice, I think it was.
yeah.
Once, and Kucherov has done it 4 times now. I mean, he's done it a couple times.
I
Actually,
think this is only his
This is his
second
third.
time.
the
It's his
second
third.
time. Second. Wait,
Well,
that's right.
he hit
He hit
in 17,
99.
18, 17, 18, he hit 100.
And he could
18,
have hit
19,
100
he
a
was
couple
128. And then this year, 113.
And
I mean, that's
like
still
last
crazy.
year, he could have hit 100 if he didn't get hurt. But
Oh, at that pace, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Right,
he was on a
exactly.
crazy pace last year, and we're talking about all these points and goals and just every great thing that he does. It's something that you can quantify. But one thing that we haven't really seen this since this year or before this year was his leadership. I think that's one thing that a lot of people have kind of slept on this year. He, for the first time in his career, he was finally wearing an A on his chest. I think if you listen to a lot of the mic'd up videos, if you listen to 5 mic'd up videos over the last 5 seasons, you would hear him more and more and more, like just being more of a team player on the bench, being a lot more vocal with his guys, his line mates, people not on his line, just a lot more of a leadership, fathership role, if you will, just taking I can't say leadership way too many times, but that's what it is. He really had stepped up in that department big time this year, and he took that A and ran with it. Really, he did. So I think that's something that has kind of gone unnoticed. It's something that I do have to definitely credit for, give him credit for if we are, grading these report cards.
Well, speaking of grades, let's go ahead and give our overall grades for Nikita Kucherov this season. I think this is a no-brainer. I mean, he had 6 points in 6 games in the playoffs as well. Guys, I'm going with an A+ for Nikita Kucherov. There's no question about it.
No, you go for yours. I'm tallying things.
Okay.
Tallying things. What's Joe got going behind the scenes?
I'm gonna give him an A. I'm gonna hold off on the plus, but I'm definitely gonna give him an A. I do think that he was the MVP of the team this season. Braden Point's got a strong case for himself, but I do think it was Nikita Kucherov that's the MVP. So I would have maybe liked to see some more goals from him. 30 goals is nothing to snuff your nose at, but I would like to see some more in the back of the net, maybe shoot a little bit more. I'm not sure what his shooting percentage, his shooting numbers are this year, but I just would have liked to see him in that 35 range and maybe a couple less assists. But at that point, it's just really splitting hairs. So definitely an A. He definitely was the best player on this team this year. I can't give him anything lower.
But I can. I'll give him an A. I'll give him an A-.
Wow.
And his knocks come from defense, where I gave him a B. That's just the way that's going to go, and it's understandable. You don't need him to be a superstar on defense if he can, still help the team win. And also, I thought that his playoffs weren't as good of a performance as it could have been for him, and that that's something that kind of has to play into it a little bit, unfortunately. He just wasn't able to put together. He didn't have enough opportunities to put together, I guess, some solid stats this playoff season. And I think that the team really could have used them. How many power plays did Tampa have in those games where they just couldn't get it done?
Too many.
And he's far too many. And that could have, obviously changed some things. So you get a little bit of a knock there. But still, I mean, that's a hell of a player to have on your team, and not someone that I would like to play against anytime soon. So I think A- is pretty fair, and that's what I go with.
I think we hit all aspects of the grades right there. You had me, the diehard fan, that's going to give everybody on the team an A+ no matter what. And you had Matt, who's like, pretty reasonable, yeah, an A. And then you had Joe, the realist, like, hang on, guys, let's not forget about all the other things. We hit all aspects of the grades there. But overall, I think we can all agree Kucherov does get an A for his season. He was a great player. He's going to continue to be a great player in the future as well.
Yeah, speaking of which, I might be hearing a rumor that he might be switching over to CCM here with some of his gear. CCM's might be trying to court him a little bit to be using their stuff, and maybe a few changes that he's having will benefit. We were talking before that he just put his house up for sale to move somewhere else as well within the Tampa Bay area.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but the gear that I'm using is the RBLR shop gear. You can head over there to shop.rblrsports.com and check out the awesome inspired merch for all of the different teams, Rays, Lightning, Bucks, you name it, we've got it. Go over there and check out the awesome shirts we have. Shop.rblrsports.com. Links, as always, are in the description. And the best part, you can use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order. So make sure you go over there and check out the awesome merch and pick up some new gear this off season. So Matt, I know you enjoyed that one.
Gotta watch what you say around this guy. It'll straight turn you into a promo.
When I heard you do that, I'm like, oh, I've got my transition.
Oh, that was perfect.
All right, well, let's go to our next player for our giving out our grades here, and that's going to be, Matt, you talked about him here, Brayden Point. And obviously, Brayden Point had an unbelievable season, scoring 51 goals this year, totaling 95 points, 44 assists total. And, I mean, just such a good season for him this year. The 51 goals is what stands out the most here.
Yeah, I mean, not enough can be said about Brayden Point. I think, objectively, this has been his best season to date. Of course, we've seen what he can do in the playoffs. You know, he had 2 straight playoffs with 10-plus goals. He had a 9-game goal streak, I want to say, in the 2021 playoffs. Like, we know what he can do, and somehow still continues to end up being the most underrated player in the league, the most underrated goal scorer in the league. I mean, 51 goals, that's crazy. It did have to come down to the wire. I think it was the last game of the season he got it, but what a season from him. You know, finally he played a mostly whole healthy season, at least a regular season. He missed some time in the season before, and it seemed like he really struggled to find his mojo through the rest of that season and, you know, into the playoffs when he got injured again. So it was nice to see him play. I want to say all 82, if not, you know, somewhere in the 80 range. All 82.
Play all 82 this year,
man. And if he didn't have some highlight reel goals along the way, I mean, I was with Joe in at one of the games at Amalie Arena. I want to say it was against the Kraken. And it just lit the arena on fire. So not only did he play fantastic at all ends of the ice, he just looked great doing it as well. Like Nikita Kucherov, he's that low-key superstar that'll hurt you very quietly. Brayden Point is the antithesis of that. He is flashy, he is dashing, and he is speedy, and he'll hurt you, and he'll let everybody he'll embarrass everybody on the ice when he's doing it. I'm saying this like he's one of our 3 stars of the week, but I guess I'm combining every single time he was one of those 3 stars, which was every other week it seemed like he was on fire this year. It's a shame he didn't hit that 100-point mark. I'm not gonna discount him for next year, maybe hitting that, become part of elite Lightning royalty hitting that mark. But the 50-goal club is also just as good as that.
Oh, I mean, like you said, he was dynamic in so many circumstances. There's no doubt that the other teams have to plan for Brayden Point. He is a very well-known entity. If you're doing your pregame prep, you have to respect his entry zone speed. And we saw last year in the playoffs what happens when he's injured and he doesn't have it, how much that hurts the Lightning as a whole. When it comes to the most important players on the team, I think Brayden Point is the most important player outside of maybe Vasilevsky for the entire Lightning organization. Without him being able to do what he does, I don't think that the team is even close to as good. I don't think Kucherov is going to put up nearly as many points, even if he's playing with a natural goal scorer like Steven Stamkos. Yeah, Point brings this element to the team that is unlike anyone else that we really have on it. And it's definitely been a fun season to watch him flourish when he was playing healthy. 51 is really impressive.
I think he could have gotten to these heights multiple times before, but he's just not been healthy. I mean, this is only the second time he's hit 82 games and played every single game in the regular season. He set a record for the most career points for him this year, the most goals. It was set the second most assists in his career. So he had a fantastic season, but it's just nice to see him play a full 82 games because it's only the second time he's done it. And he's been really good even when he's not playing all 82 games. So if he can continue to stay healthy, Braden Point is absolutely going to be right back up there. I don't know if he scored 50 goals again, but he can definitely get back in that 40 goal range for sure if he's able to stay healthy. And that's going to be a big factor for the Lightning. We just need to make sure that he also stays healthy in the postseason because Braden Point has had such terrible luck, it seems, in the last 2 seasons. I mean, he was out for basically the entirety of the playoffs last year, and some would argue a big reason why the Lightning weren't able to keep up with the fast-paced Colorado Avalanche. And then he ended up staying in this year, but still a very big scare for him during the Toronto series again, where he got hurt. And who knows, maybe that was a factor for him in the last couple of games and why he was never able to get it going. So Braden Point, for the love of God, please stay healthy.
I wouldn't call him an injury-prone player. Like, he's definitely not in the same ballpark as, Stamkos was, but a lot of the time they are just unfortunate injuries, and it's because of, just how fast he's going and how slippery he is. But, he has been, durable for the most part, especially if you compare him to some other guys around his size. But he's, captain consistent. Like I always say, you can always bet on him to be there in a really clutch situation. He really is the probably the most clutch player on the team. You could argue a couple of different guys, but that's a whole nother element to his game is just the clutch factor with him. Like, watching the Carolina Florida game, the one that went to quadruple overtime, you're just like, getting flashbacks to that 5 overtime game in the bubble year against Columbus. And, who was the guy to end all that? It was Braden Point. So, just that clutch factor along with just being such a dynamic, speedy, goal-scoring player is, it really makes for an incredible superstar player that's still somehow extremely underrated.
Yeah, he really is. I wish he'd get more love.
It's crazy, too, because he's Canadian, so you would think they'd be all over him.
Let's go overall grades for our guy, Braden Point. Listen, I know I just called myself out for being the biased diehard fan, but I have to go A+ again here. I mean, seriously, 51 goals for the guy. He was unbelievable on so many highlight reels. Matt, you were talking about it. We gave him, one of the 3 stars almost every week, it felt like. Fantastic season for Braden Point. I'm going with an A+.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys the categories I'm kind of looking at here. First of all, offense, defense, overall effort, intangibles, and then playoffs. And this one, he gets offense A+, defense gets a B, right? Intangibles A+, effort A+. He tried the whole time. Playoffs, I'm just gonna wipe out that category for him because I felt like he got injured, and you really can't grade everything on someone that's playing hurt like that. So I give him an A+. I thought he was the absolute man this season.
And I know I'm going to sound a little bit like I'm contradicting myself here. I know I did say Nikita Kucherov was the Lightning's MVP this year, but I am going to stick with an A+ for Braden Point. I gave Nikita just an A+ for Braden Point. I think, I am grading this on a curve when you given, their relative positions. I think Braden Point was, he was our number 1 center. And, to be a number 1 center, you have to excel in all these categories. I thought his defensive game was very good. I think it is an underrated aspect of his game. He's always there on the back check. And, again, we were just talking about all of his offensive warts and everything that goes along with that. I think he excelled at everything that was asked of him this season. And yeah, with the whole playoffs, I do look at that in a little bit of a different light, but I still can't take anything away from him. He did everything as asked that he could have done this season for us. A+.
There you have it. Braden Point gets the A+. Matt's just giving out MVPs to everybody. Hey, you get an MVP. You get an MVP.
It'll change really quick.
Oh, no. I love it. Well, we've got an A for Nikita Kucherov, an A+ for Braden Point, and now we have the captain, Steven Stamkos, who, had an unbelievable year himself. 81 games played, 34 goals, 50 assists for a total of 84 points. But really, we need to call him Mr. Milestone, because which milestone did he not hit this year. I mean, 1,000 games played, 1,000 points, 500 goals. I think 500 assists is the only one that he didn't hit, and that's because he already had it before the season started. So Stammer hitting all of the milestones, had a fantastic. I think really in the beginning of the season, he was looking at one of his best seasons ever, and then he kind of cooled off a little bit, especially when he hit that slump trying to get, I think it was 500 goals. It took him a little bit to get to, but I just don't know how you can say Stamkos had a down year, even though it wasn't one of his best seasons number-wise when he hit so many milestones. A guy that we are so fortunate to have here in Tampa Bay, a guy that loves the city and the team so much and says he does not want to go anywhere. You could not ask for a better captain.
No, you got to love Steven Stamkos. I mean, there was 3 or 4 award ceremonies for him this year, and I
believe.
So it was 1,000 games played, right? 500 and
goals.
500.
Yes.
1,000 games played, 500 points, 500 assists. And
No,
also,
1,000 points. I think he already had the 500
Correct.
assists before.
Before the start of the season.
It's definitely not as big a deal as the other 3, but it's still a hell of an accomplishment.
It was fun to see him being honored, though. I mean, that also kind of feels like something really well earned, given how much he's put out for this team over the years. So that was it's kind of like one of those people that are making their paychecks after they've already done all the work, right? That he's cashing in on a little bit of love after all these years that he's put in for the team. His season though was wasn't terrible. At least he was able to get in. We got in 81 games. Would I interrupt you there, Matt?
No.
Yeah, I mean he's you're not going to see another 60 goal season out of him. You're not expecting that, right? What you want is consistency, and that would be one place I kind of knock him a bit. He was very, very, very streaky this season. He'd have 10 games where he'd score a goal, and he'd go 12 without one.
That was going to be my biggest criticism of him, was just his streakiness. There were a lot of times where, and I don't think all of it is his fault, there were a lot of times where plays were being force-fed to him, looking for these milestone goals or just to get him a little bit closer. I think that really did, screw with the flow a little bit, and maybe, definitely hurt his consistency. He might have got even into his own head for a little bit, and just honestly, he might just not have might have caught lightning in a bottle last year. I don't want to say it was a fluke year. Being a point per game exactly is still a hell of a feat, but it just wasn't the same Stamkos that we saw last year. I think he definitely had a little bit more trouble with his defensive errors, or more so his offensive errors. How many times did I say this year, just strap a bungee cord to Steven Stamkos and don't let him do those backhand passes? He definitely seemed to have lost a step this year. I really am just pointing out so many negatives with him, but I do hold him in such a high regard. The standard is super, super high for him. He is the face of the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Tampa Bay sports area in general, is Steven Stamkos. So he definitely regressed from last year, but it was still a really good season from him. Hopefully, he can keep it up. I know there was a lot of doubt regarding his career for what's been the last 5 or 6 years, since he signed that big deal to stay with Tampa. There's been a lot of, doubters here and there. The trade Stamkos crowd, the never say anything bad about Stamkos crowd. I fall somewhere in between, but again, I never say anything bad about Stamkos. Jake, am I just, torquing you right now?
I give everybody on this team criticism because I want them to be the best they can, but it is pretty rare for me to criticize Steven Stamkos. It's hard for me to do, honestly.
I can find a way. I don't know if I do, if I am a little bit too judgmental, if I do pick on him more so than most, but I do think it was a little bit of a regression from last year, but still a great season overall.
I will say this. My biggest knock for Steven Stamkos this year was his overtime play. How many times was he on the ice in overtime and he would slip and fall and the other team just grab the puck and put it into the back of the net and ended the game? It was devastating how many times he was out there in overtime, and he really struggled. I remember every time I saw him, even in the playoffs, I'm like, oh my God, all right, just hold your stand or get off the ice. I love you, man, but get off the ice, please.
I'd say anytime that the other team only had 3 players on the ice and Stamkos was out there, there was always, he gave away, like you said, a few of those blind backhand passes or just dumb plays that, he should have been a little bit more defensively responsible for. That on my little scorecard, I got him knocked pretty hard on that.
Well, he got some new skates this season, and it'll be a little bit better when it comes into next season. But Stamkos, he hit so many milestones. He's a great captain. He's a great leader. So I'm going to go A- for my overall grade. I don't think you can knock him out of the A category. Everything he did for this team this year, and he's still one of the best players in the Lightning. That's the other thing too. You have to remember a lot of these guys. I mean, look how well balanced the Lightning are. They are not a top heavy team whatsoever. I guarantee you put guys like Nikita Kucherov on some other teams who don't have star players. Kucherov's probably beaten Connor McDavid in points. I'm not kidding. He's that good. I think the Lightning
relax.
No, I mean, I'm serious. He scored 128 points with the Lightning. I think he could really do some damage if he didn't have to share the love so much, which is also what makes the Lightning so good, that they're so well balanced. But maybe I'm being a little crazy. But, hey, that's
you love your boys.
RBLR, though. You got the crazy Lightning fan, and you got the realist over here. But all right, what are you guys going for first grade for Stamkos?
You want to go first, Matt?
I don't. I want you to.
All right, sounds good. That means we'll end this show hopefully on a higher note. I'd knocked him out of the A category. I am going to go ahead and just call it a B+ though. And one of the biggest things is definitely going to be defense. He didn't play great either in the playoffs overall. So that's what knocks him down from his intangibles, him being a leader. He's an A all day with that, and that's why he wears the C. And offense, he played pretty well. I thought there's a few goals that I thought that he almost gimmies that he should have had, but at the end of the day, that's not really the most important stat. It's the way that you're carrying play, generating opportunities, and he was there for him. So B+, Matt, take us home.
It's not going to be a bright ending to the show. I'm sorry, Joe. I rated the other two so high. I think this is part of that grading on a curve. I have to knock somebody down a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and give him a B, just a flat B. I did have some issues with his game this year. I unfortunately, I don't know if it's fair to, compare this season and the season before, with a, 25-point regression, something along those lines. I do think it was a bit of a fall back down to earth season. I don't think his defensive play was there. And then you brought up the overtime part, which I kind of did forget about, and I think that did knock him out of the A category.
I hurt Stamkos by bringing up the overtime. I shouldn't have said anything.
I think you definitely did sway my opinion on that one. I think that knocked him out of the A category. I don't know if I want to give him a B+ either. I did have, what? I will give him a B+. I'll agree with Joe for one reason, and that is because he played he played 81 games this year, because the only game he missed was for the birth of his child, I believe. So very durable. I do have to give him credit. Again, I'm grading these with the relative players in mind. If we can get a full season out of Stamkos, that definitely adds to his grade. So I'll give him a B+, but I do think that there are some detractors that might sway my opinion and boost that score down just a little bit.
I should have given him an A+ just so his overall grade came up. I was trying to be a little bit more realistic, but an overall grade of B+ is still a fantastic grade for the captain. And hey, we love to hear from our listeners at home. Let us know what your grades are for all three of these guys, what you guys think. You agree with us? Do you disagree with our grades? We'd love to hear from you guys. Please tell Joe and Matt that they're dead wrong on Steven Stamkos. He deserves to be in the A category. Or maybe I'm crazy. Tell me I'm the crazy one for putting him in the A. But guys, that's going to do it for us in this episode. But don't forget, make sure you like and subscribe and stick around. Follow us at RBLR Lightning so you don't miss out on the future episodes, because next week we are going to be talking about Brandon Hagel, Anthony Sorelli, and everybody's favorite influencer, Alex Killorn. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one. Go Bolts!
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.